Hey guys, this is Jen with Ministries, and this is just going to be a quick video, a short word. Um, I say it's kind of a fun word. I guess it's not necessarily in that it is still a serious word. He's still talking about serious stuff, but I personally find it, I guess, really fun when I'm able to see the Lord speaking in all kinds of things. It's exciting to me because I enjoy uncovering these treasures that the Lord has hidden for us in plain sight. That's actually what the verse is referring to in Proverbs 25:2. When it says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter." So, the Lord does conceal these things, but he conceals them in plain sight so that we can search them out, just like how Jesus spoke in parables. So those that were tuned in with his spirit, those that were seeking after him would hear these things, see these things, notice them when maybe other people wouldn't. So I guess that's kind of what I mean about this being fun, is that you can tell by the title, it is about how he is speaking through two current events, or I guess I should say recent events, ORU being in March Madness, and then also the ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal. So I'll just go ahead and jump in here. I did do a written version of this word as well, so I'm trying to be better about making sure I do both, just in case you prefer one over the other. But I will put a link down below to the written version, so that's what I'm referencing here. But the first thing I just wanted to mention is I always have to kind of put this disclaimer on these kind of words, so I'm going to say it again in this one as well, that the players, the people, the teams, the schools that I'm talking about in this word, I am not referring to them personally. I have absolutely no idea what these people are like personally, what the teams are like personally, or even what the schools are like personally. I have no idea. So I'm not speaking about them personally. What I'm speaking about is what they represent and what God is saying through them. So an example would be last year he spoke a lot through the Daytona 500, and I had to mention on that one as well, where I was not saying anything personal about the driver because I don't even know that person and God has not told me anything about that person. But he was speaking symbolically through his name, through his car number, through different things that were represented. So same thing within this word. The different players, teams, schools that I refer to, I'm not talking about them personally. So I'm making that quite clear. So do not take it that way. And let's just leave it at that. Okay, so first the ORU and March Madness thing. I did actually feel like that was significant. I even mentioned it very offhandedly in my last word, the one about spring break. I said, I was talking about the Daytona 500 thing from last year, and I said that I thought there was probably some significance to ORU being in March Madness, but at that time, actually, the Holy Spirit hadn't said anything to me about it yet. But this just happened yesterday, and I was actually not seeking it out. I was not asking him about it. I was actually praying about something completely different. I was just sitting with the Lord, meditating with him, praying, talking to him about something totally unrelated, and he just started downloading about the ORU thing, as well as the ship that got caught in the Suez Canal. So the day before this, though, the day before yesterday, he did drop one little sentence in my spirit, and that's kind of what prompted this download yesterday, was him reminding me of what he had said the day before. And it actually caught me really off guard because it sounds a little salty. And of course the Holy Spirit is salty. That's how he talks. But I guess even for me, I was kind of like, ooh, that's rough, Lord. And it's funny because I have absolutely zero personal investment or interest in basketball, in ORU, in sports, anything. But so what he had said the day before yesterday was very casually, he just said to me, well, you know what ORU stands for, right? And then he said, Organized Religion University. So again, I was like, yikes, like that's harsh, Lord. But yesterday, when he reminded me of that from the day before and he started elaborating on it, I immediately understood what he was saying. And it's not even that he was picking on ORU. They just happen to have really handy initials that just worked out really well. But it wasn't that he was picking on them in general, and he's not picking on anybody, but what he was pointing out through that is that all basically Christian universities, all Christian schools, just the concept, let's say, of a Christian university, of a Christian school, that the ones that because of religion, because of man, because of us, because of what we have done and how we have turned following Jesus into this organized religion, which we call Christianity, that now that is kind of what all of these schools are teaching, is they're teaching the religion. They're teaching the organized religion that man has created about following Jesus, as opposed to preparing and equipping and sending out disciples. So that is what he's speaking to here in this word. And if you do follow any of my other words, you'll remember that he had just said in, I think it was the last one of the last ones, he had also woken me up one morning and he said, Christianity is man's religion about following Jesus. It's not following Jesus. So again, it's that same thing, that he's making a clear distinction now between what it means to be in a relationship with Christ and what it means to be in this religion of Christianity that man has created. So this is where he's going, representing this through ORU and this other team and what happened in March Madness. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the team that beat ORU were the Arkansas Razorbacks. So I had no idea what a Razorback was. So I felt the Holy Spirit prompting me to go search that out, find what they were. So as it turns out, a Razorback is a wild boar, like a pig, a wild boar. And symbolically, what a wild boar represents is war, warriors, defending what is right, truth, courage, confrontation, facing the truth even if it means facing your own death, never giving up, challenging predators that are trying to hunt you, bravery, and a fighting spirit. So I'm sure some of you are probably already catching this revelation just by me reading that. So what the Razorbacks represent is this fighting spirit, the Lion of Judah, the remnant, the fire of the Holy Spirit, spiritual warriors that are fighting for truth. They're brave, they're courageous, they're facing truth even if it means facing their own death. That is the Razorbacks. That's what the Razorbacks represent in this situation. And that would be opposed with organized religion, which is spiritual blindness, apathy, programs and procedures, traditions, restrictions, self-righteousness, judgment, pridefulness. So that's the comparison that he is making here. So in the game where the Razorbacks defeated ORU, which just happened to take place on the first day of Passover, the final score was 72-70. So the Holy Spirit focused in on ORU's score first, which was 70. And not only is the number 70 very significant in the Bible, the most obvious being Daniel's prophecy about end times and how that was a 70-week prophecy. And that's a whole separate thing I could get into, but that applies very much for right now as well. But besides all of that, in the Hebrew alphabet, the number 70 is the letter Ayin. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's A-Y-I-N. And the pictograph for that is the I. So what that letter represents, which has the numerical value of 70, what that represents is seeing, but also in turn understanding and obeying. So there's a whole lot I could go into there about seeing and about spiritual eyes versus natural eyes and all of that. But basically, the important part is that when you are looking with your natural eyes and you're just focusing on the natural and you're looking with your natural sight and not seeing spiritually, which is what you do when you are stuck in religion, you will miss completely what God is doing. You will literally be blind to it. And I have seen this happening firsthand with people right now. If you are stuck in religion, and you can be stuck in religion and not even know you're stuck in religion, I'm about to release a teaching, prophetic teaching, about humility in the religious spirit, because you can literally be wrapped up in the religious spirit and not even know it. And that's why it takes humility to be able to have the Lord show that to you. So that is really, really important for right now, which is why he's speaking about all this. But again, if you're stuck in religion, you will look with your natural eyes. You will focus on what you see naturally. You will not be seeing spiritually, whether you're aware of it or not. And you will miss what God is doing. So not only will you not be able to see it, but in turn you won't be able to understand it or obey him. So the way the Holy Spirit showed it to me, which I thought this was such a cool analogy, is he said it's literally like driving around with your low beams on, and you're only seeing, 200 feet in front of the car. You're only seeing what's right there because your low beams are on, but you never turn on your high beams, which light up the whole thing and show you the whole thing and show you further, because you're just keeping your low beams on. So that's kind of the difference between being in religion and being in the spirit. So this is why, again, he gave this clear warning back on January 20th when all of the craziness, started naturally in our country. And he gave such a clear warning on January 20th, and you can find that both on my website and on this channel. But he basically was saying in that word not to agree with what you're seeing in the natural. And then he also gave a word a few days later called the Lord of Heaven's Armies is releasing his plans. And that was, again, because he wanted to make sure that we were aware of what he's doing, so that, number one, we can be peaceful and expectant, but also to make sure that we're staying in line with what he wants us to do. So as for the score of 72, which is what the other team got, there's no 72 in the Hebrew Bible. There's no letter with that value. But what I felt the Holy Spirit actually focusing on was the 2-point difference, which is what was missing. That's what they lost by. So the number 2 in the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Bet, B-E-T. And the pictograph for that is a house or a dwelling. So what that letter represents is it represents creation, a dwelling place. Sorry, my dog just jumped down. That scared me. A dwelling place in lower reality, and God's intention of abiding within the realm of creation. So it's also a picture of Yeshua, Jesus, as the master of the house, and how he is tabernacled with us, with our own bodies being his temple. So this concept that I just described is what's missing from organized religion. So if you did just watch or read the last prophetic teaching that I did, the first part was about power through surrender. So that's exactly what that teaching was talking about, which is surrendering to Jesus as the master of your life. Because when you do that, when you truly surrender to him, then you allow him to reign in the temple or the tabernacle, which is you. You are the spiritual temple now. His Holy Spirit lives inside of you. So you allow him to rule and reign. You allow him to be the master of your life. You submit to him, surrender to him. And through that, you live the abundant life that he died for you to have. So all of that, though, is only accessible through, again, laying down religion, laying down your works, laying down your pride, and receiving it through nothing but his grace and the finished work of the cross and his Holy Spirit. So it's stopping the striving and surrendering to him. So again, the piece that was missing was represented by the 2, which is the house or the dwelling, which represents Jesus as the master of the house. So I hope that makes sense. The team lost right at the buzzer. Literally, like the kid tried to shoot the basket and it missed at the buzzer as it was going off. So that just is a nod to the fact that we are at, the end of the game. We're nearing the end of the game here. We're in the end times and there's not much time left. And then just prophetically speaking, making a basketball basket, refers to reaching forward to what lies ahead. So again, those that are stuck in organized religion are not able to see or agree with the new thing that lies ahead, the new thing that God is doing. They're not able to see it or agree with it, which that new thing is actually him going back to the old thing and to the original way that it was supposed to be before religion sort of warped everything. So they're missing it. So then the other part was about the names. The player that was on the Razorback team who sunk the winning shot, his name is Devante, which is a form of David. So David means beloved or favorite, and of course it represents those who are like David in the Bible, those who have a heart after God, those who are walking in complete surrender and complete humility and are walking with the key of David, which is in Isaiah 22:22. So that is contrasted with the player on the ORU team who missed the shot, and his name is Max, and Max means the greatest. So the contrast he was showing there was the difference between the pride and the self-righteousness of religion, like the greatest, I'm the greatest, versus the humility and surrender of truly walking in the Spirit and having a fully surrendered heart toward God. And then the last piece was that they lost the game in what is referred to as the Sweet 16. That was the bracket that they were in when they lost, so the Sweet 16. And 16 prophetically represents the end of the rule of humanity, so meaning the end of man's ways, as well as the renewal of relationship with God through redemption and resurrection. So again, reiterating this same theme of relationship with God over religion. Now, if they had won and they had moved on, the next level was called the Elite 8. 8 represents new beginnings, and the word elite means the choice part, the best of a class, priesthood, or royalty. So again, remember, they did not move on to this part. So this represents how those who are stuck in religion will not experience the fullness of what it means to reign with Christ as royalty, because that comes from laying down pride and works, humbly surrendering, allowing God to circumcise your heart, and renewing your relationship and your covenant with him through the finished work of Christ, which is not what organized religion will teach you. So that was, symbolized, represented by them not moving on to that next level, that Elite 8. So that was all of it for that part. I hope that made sense, and I thought it was really, really good. Again, I already said the disclaimer at the beginning, but I'll say it again at the end. Not talking about the specific players, not talking about their own spirituality or their own relationship with God. I have no idea. Not talking about the teams or the schools even. These are symbolic through their names, through the numbers involved, through the things that they represent. So, hope that's clear. And then the second part was just about the ship that recently got stuck in the Suez Canal. And that was something where it's so funny that I'm like so out of the news, because the Holy Spirit told me a while back, stop watching the news. So I'm so out of it that I didn't even know that happened. And then the day before yesterday, I was watching a video with another prophetic voice, and he was sharing how he had received a word literally in the middle of a church service, and that as he received it, he spoke it out loud, and the Holy Spirit was saying that God was going to do something through a ship, something very noticeable through a ship. And so that when we saw that, we could know that was a confirmation that he is moving, and that we're about to see this stuff he's been promising us for so long about our country and the situation in our country and our government, that we are going to see it in the natural very soon. That when we saw this happen with the ship, that would be a sign. So that was what he was saying. That was what he had received, because of course we each received like these little pieces. So that was what he had received. Like I said, I didn't even know that this had happened. So I click off of that and I go look at an article just to see what is he talking about. So I see where the ship was stuck in the Suez Canal, and saw the little story or whatever, and I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And I will say that there was something that kind of jumped out at me right away when I read the story, when I looked at the news item. But still, even with that, I was just going to let it be. I wasn't really going to do anything. I just kind of shared it with a friend that I was talking to, and that was it. And so yesterday, when he started giving me the whole big download about ORU, that really just led right into this thing about the ship, which is funny because, like I said, I wasn't even searching this out either. But basically, first of all, the name of the ship is the Ever Given, is the name of the ship. So ever means at any time and at all times, while given means at a particular or specified time. So even just through the name there, what he's highlighting, what he's trying to show, is that he's reiterating the truth that he is always moving at all times. He is able to move at any time, and he will move at the particular time that he has already specified. Because again, God is God. He is outside of time. He is at the beginning, at the end. He's all of it. So at the same time, simultaneously, he's always moving. He's able to move at any time, and he will move at the specified particular time that he has already set up from the beginning of time in our current situation. So again, reflecting what the other prophetic voice said, that like when we see this happening, this is just a confirmation for us that, hey, like, he is moving. So then if you did see the news with the pictures or anything of the ship, you probably also saw very, very obviously that the name of the shipping company was Evergreen, because it's like plastered on the side of the ship, to the point where actually people were confused about the name of the ship because they thought the name of the ship was Evergreen. But so what Evergreen means is universally and continually relevant, not limited to a particular time. So again, what he is highlighting here, what he is speaking here, is that God's involvement in our lives, God's faithfulness to protect us, to rescue his people, did not go away with the Old Testament. He didn't all of a sudden just back out of the picture. He is the same God that he's always been. So his faithfulness, his goodness, his sovereignty, his ability to intervene, his ability to do the impossible, his willingness to do so is still relevant right now. It's universally relevant. It's continually relevant. And so he is about to show that like we have never seen before, which again is pretty much what every word has been about that he's had me release so far this year. It's just him saying over and over and over again, I am moving, I am going to move, I am coming in, I am intervening, I am rescuing you. Watch for it, wait for it, be still, expect me to do it. Like he's just confirming it over and over and over and over. And again, those are just the few words I've received. And if you are listening to, other prophets that are truly moving in the spirit, like they're all saying the same thing too. Like he is doing it. Like there's no question. There's no requirements. Because it's not about us. That's the point. Religion would say it was about us getting it right. It's not about us. It's about him. It's about his faithfulness and his goodness and his sovereignty and his power, and him showing all of those things to the world, including to the believers, because the believers are the ones that need to wake up and remember that this is who he is. So again, there's this idea that is, again, been constant really throughout all the words, about how our situation right now is like our Red Sea moment, and how he is delivering us from Egypt, and of course Egypt being the world. So he is truly bringing his church out of the world, and that was part of the word he gave me back on January 20th, was he said, this is me delivering you from the world. That's what this is. Like, he's bringing us out from the world just in time, because the next part that's going to happen is when his judgment comes on the world and his wrath comes on the world, and like, that's, you know, the end of the story. So he's pulling us out of the world truly so that we will not be a part of that. We won't get swept away in that, so he can protect us. So he is doing this Red Sea thing with us, bringing us out of Egypt. And again, it's not a coincidence that this ship just happens to get stuck near the entrance to the Red Sea in Egypt. Like, that is not a coincidence. That is just another confirmation, another echo, as I like to call them. And what he's demonstrating is how he can stop the ways of the world anytime he wants to. Like, before that happened, everything was still just going the way man expected it to go. All the little ships were going through the canal. The whole system that man created about trading and, you know, commerce and all that was just functioning the way it was supposed to. And just like that, God came in and did what God can do and stopped it, brought it all to a screeching halt, to the point that man was left to, you know, run around and try to figure out a solution to figure out how to do it. Well, it's not a coincidence that it was wind and sandstorms that made this ship get stuck. It was God showing his power. It was God showing that he can stop things whenever he wants to. And he had also highlighted to me, when I did look it up, how one of the locals that lives in the town that's right there along the canal had said that the ship looked like a mountain, because it was just sitting there, like right next to, you know, where the land stops. It was just there, like this giant mountain. And so he also highlighted that to me and said that he is reminding us that he can move mountains. So don't be afraid, again, by what may appear impossible to man, because it is possible with him. So then the last little piece that he did highlight to me, he did illuminate this to me, but I will say he didn't really elaborate on it, but I know it's significant too, it's also important, is that the Suez Canal, which is where the ship was stuck, when it first opened, it was very significant because it opened up the global sex trade. So it made it possible for prostitutes and, you know, trafficking victims to be moved to these new areas, these new countries that they couldn't before, and also for it to happen much quicker and more frequently and easier. So he just kind of highlighted that, like, he's also putting this nice little exclamation point on the fact that he has the ability to also intervene majorly in that area as well, which of course we know that's already something that he has really been shaking, was this, the reality of this sex trafficking industry and how it's been kind of covered up and kind of hidden, and he's bringing that to the surface too. Well, this was just another sort of little nod to that, that like he can literally like stop all of that movement whenever he wants to. So again, this is just another example of him showing his power, showing his sovereignty, showing that he is coming to rescue his people, and that all together, you know, putting it all together, that he's coming to free them from the world, and he's coming to free them from religion once and for all. And that what he is about to do and what he is waking his people up to again, which will be the revival, waking believers who have been asleep, waking them up, and then also bringing non-believers to the truth, that he is only doing this through the blood of Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit. So again, I think that's pretty exciting, and, you know, I'm excited, I'm expectant, and he wants his people to be too. So again, that's kind of the theme that's going throughout all of these words, is that even though they're very serious words and they're important and they have, you know, spiritual impact, that it's also for joy and it's for excitement and expectancy, because he wants his people to see what he's doing. He wants his people to be aware of what he's doing so that we can be excited and expectant and recognize when he's moving, and especially recognize when he does the big thing very, very soon here to shift things in our country, because we are going to be told in the natural that it's something completely different. So again, wanting his people to see spiritually with that spiritual sight and not natural sight, which is why you have to come out of religion. So I hope you're seeing how it all ties together, and I hope that you found this interesting and encouraging. And yeah, that was pretty much it for right now. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.